Welcome to Mirahiku Southland in New Zealand's deep south, a province of wilderness, beauty and abundance. This week, for a 68th year, the region plays host to the best road cycling talent from around New Zealand and offshore in the country's longest running and most prestigious road race. Over 100 riders across 18 teams doing battle across 867 kilometres of Southern Highway. Through fertile farmland, majestic fjordland, a defining climb up Queenstown's Remarkables, the iconic Bluff Hill, all leading to a winner being crowned in Invercargill 1 week later. This is the 2024 SBS Bank Tour of Southlands. Monday Stage 2 saw the return of an old friend, the famed Tour of Southland Wind. The stage departed Invercargill bound for the northern Southland township of Lumsden, and it was on from the start. A well-represented break got off the front around half an hour into the stage, stretching its lead to north of 7 minutes by the time the stage was neutralised before the Glenure Hill. When the race was restarted at Balfour, the 18-strong break bunch had a 20-kilometre drag race to the finish. Kian Watts of Powernet powered his way to take a sprint finish win, while Australian Samuel Jenner, riding his third Southland Tour, finally got to pull on the Tour leader's orange jersey for Tuesday's stage to Te Anau.
Yeah, yesterday was a hard day. Wind definitely picked up at the start and split up pretty quickly, so happy to be on the front side of the race with teammate Josh, but yeah, it was a bit of carnage out there.
It was a big day. Unfortunately, we missed that first bunch, and it was a long day of chasing after that, yeah.
We all kind of knew it was going to be on from the start, and pretty much that first corner is 4K in, and from there on it was echelons the whole way, so I knew I had to be out the front and get in that line and start chopping off.
There'll be people very nervous because the weather today is very similar, and we're heading coastal, which could get even worse in crosswinds, but as far as when the big boys in this tour in crosswinds, the two mixed together, then I think a lot of people are just surviving really, and just hoping that they're on the right side of splits, and if you're at the tail end when those things happen, you could be in a bit of trouble.
The boys are feeling good, yeah, so hopefully we can get Josh up for a sprint if it comes down to that, but I think the first 25k is where it's going to be really crucial, so that's what we'll be focused on today.
We'll be there, we'll be having a crack. Burnsy's still one of our guys that we want to be up there in GC, so we'll be fighting it out tooth and nail for him. So redemption day, and hopefully things go well and the wind's up again, so it's a good opportunity to crack on.
In contrast to yesterday's conditions, the riders under the sunshine in Riverton as they head out for 148 kilometres. Well, Doug, we know this has been a stage over the years that has seen a breakaway get away relatively quickly into the stage. But of course, today the winds aren't as strong.
Yes, the plans and the tactics that the teams use in this stage around the coast are very, very windy through Arapuki to Atapri. Of course, we've got the Black Mount climb that they're going to have to encounter before they head down the downhill into Manapuri and then across to Te Anau. Another really important stage, cannot be underestimated, and it's going to be interesting to see what the tactics are from some of these leading teams going into the start.
I also wondered, Doug, with a number of teams yesterday that missed out on that vital break. You look at the likes of the Copeland's team, Cycling Tom racing team there. They missed out on that advantage trying to get across into that gap yesterday. A number of other teams in the mix with the BJ Carter Builders, for example, Latitude Cycling. They may well be looking for an opportunity here, hoping that potentially the leading teams might allow them to get up the road, because there's no threat currently to the GC with such a significant distance between the front group yesterday and the rest of the field.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Julian. The tactics from some of these teams will be a wee bit more sort of closely guarded today. I think they're not going to let a group like that did yesterday of up to 25 riders sneak away at the start of the stage and have a huge influence on this race. Never seen it before, really. And the start to this year's race, the intent from these riders, of course, is just to attack right from the gun, which we see again here today.
He's heading into the first of the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains points, just on the edge of Riverton after the neutral start. One way to wake up the legs here for the day, and it looks like it's going to be the Mitre Q team here going towards the front. It looks like the mountain biker, Ben Oliver, who's leading the charge up here to try and secure points. And of course, today with a few of the hills, different categories. This is one of the lower categories here. Picks himself up 3 points, but more importantly, the man, his teammate, Josh Burnett, picking up a couple of points here to extend his lead.
They really exposed their hand yesterday, the Creation Signs lads, Mitre Q. They really took the scruff of the neck with the way they approached that start yesterday. It'll be a wee bit more defensive, I think, today. They're probably thinking further on for the remarkable stage into this tour. But look, these races are so unpredictable, they're so volatile, they're so driven by conditions, and you've got to make decisions in a heartbeat in these races, otherwise you get left behind.
Local man Marshall Irwood heading on to the front here for the Creation Signs Mitre Q team. Of course, he's the national under-23 champion, and he's now got his job here on the front for his team to try and set them up with the various points that are available with the sprints and, of course, the King of the Mountains here today.
And Bailey O'Donnell from the Home Solutions team is really hunting these sprint points for the Harcourt Sprint Ace jersey, as are the Mitre Q riders here. You can see them leading each other out for the preems here. They're not waiting for later in the week for this jersey, and they're really committed to taking all of the early points they can.
Looks like rider 114 from Australia, Elliot Schultz from the Copeland's Cycling Time Racing team here, who's made a bit of a gap on the field. As we said just earlier on, Doug, in this particular stage, they missed the break yesterday. This could be a bit of a bid to try and get themselves off the front and see what they can do today here, because a number of these teams won't be happy with the way things transpired yesterday for them.
It can happen on a heartbeat, as we've said, that you miss a break really quickly in this SBS Bank Tour. There are a lot of riders in this field who are seriously experienced and have raced extensively overseas who will be kicking themselves about yesterday. But you can see here the boy Schultz from the Copeland Cycling Tom team, they're really on the charge here, and through Oropuki and through these lumpy parts just before that is a good opportunity to get away and get out of sight. Peloton's back together here, all chasing. There'll be a lot of guys who are looking ahead to this stage to Blackmount, trying to conserve their energy.
It's a good sized group and some well-known names in there as well. Sam Ritchie, well-performed a rider. He's got himself right up in the front part of this race here, as he did yesterday. So that will be sending alarm bells back in the main peloton, having somebody like him. And that's what the teams will do. They'll be working it out. It'll take them a few moments to actually suss this out as to who's made the break, whether or not we should chase it down or allow it to open up a decent gap if they are a threat or not to the GC.
And those decisions can often take a wee bit longer to establish when you have got a combination of riders from a lot of teams in the front group here that we can see. But it also is a wee bit more relaxed perhaps when there's some more gaps on the GC back in the main field from some of these bigger teams as well. There's probably a wee bit more, like Bailey O'Donnell here, who's quite a long way up on the GC. They won't be wanting him to get away too far, but it is a wee bit more relaxed back in the group here.
So the peloton these days doesn't have radio contact, so they're not getting information from their team managers. They visually have to keep a close eye on what is going on up the front. And when you have over 100 riders, that is very difficult to do. But they've put the pressure on the front. The top teams have recognised there are some threats up the road here, including the man in the green jersey, and it looks like they're going to potentially here suck them back into the fold.
With 114 k's to go on this stage, there is still a lot of racing left here. Some of these roads are super exposed to the wind as we get further round, and on the way in towards Blackmount, that gets really tough.
So the riders now making their way along the coastline here towards Tuatapere, the sausage capital of New Zealand, as they look out. If they've got a bit of time to have a look out, this beautiful scenery here in Southland. But you can note here the wind is picking up. A number of these trees are quite bare, with the leaves disappearing over the year as they get battered by the high winds that are typically in this area. But today for these riders, on the whole, it's pretty good going.
conditions have been pretty favourable. You can sort of see by the flags that are being held up by all of the judges on all the preems, and some of the flags on the side of the road aren't blowing sideways. These guys will be really, really looking hard and thinking about the further into the stage, because it does pick up on those flats towards Black Mount and in around the school area there. They're having a bit of a look around. Bailey O'Donnell is seriously pushing the pace in these front groups. You can see back at the back of the field, it's pretty much relaxation, eating time, whilst out the front, they're seriously putting the hammer down.
And it looks like some familiar figures with Ritchie, Tom, Sexton and O'Donnell all getting themselves into the mix, the three South Islanders here. We've typically seen this, of course, with these preems. They have a go at a sprint, and the other riders that don't want to take part sit up and just let it happen. But at times, that allows a bit of a gap to open up, and we see a few chasers now trying to join this group here in the hope that they can get themselves away.
Yeah, this is a typical Tour of Southland stage, isn't it? Breakaway across and a crosswind, groups of guys getting across. There'll be lots of riders sitting watching this at home going, I remember this bit of road, and I remember trying to do exactly the same thing. That's one of the Japanese team there riding along in a very, very low position. He has got a lovely pedal stroke, this lad.
Yes, Shunsuke Imamura from Japan is being joined by one of the PowerNet riders, number 43, Curtis Harrison, to try and get themselves across to the front of the race. Interesting, the Japanese national team, they missed that break yesterday, Doug, and they have been very prominent in the first couple of breaks of the day.
Yes, they certainly don't come all the way across the other side of the world to the SBS Bank Tour of Southland just to make up numbers. The Japanese team have got a huge pedigree. There's a current world track champion in there, scratch race champion. Shunsuke Imamura is himself a Japanese track champion and has been a former junior world champion. So there's some real pedigree with these chaps. Unknown, the local chaps won't have raced these guys on the road before, but they're beginning to find out that they've come here to play.
Yes, we've mentioned it before that a lot of these riders come with a track background, the mountain biking, etc., but the track speed of which a lot of these riders can bring into an event like this can't be underestimated. When we saw it in the last few days, the speeds at which they get up to, they're used to that sort of thing, over 250 metres in their various events. They are endurance riders, of course, as we look to now to see who exactly is in that group. Reef Roberts, 153, a good move from him, the under 23-year-old for On Your Bike. He is the current New Zealand road and time trial champion for the under-19s, and also an Oceania time trial champion. So this is a fantastic move for the young man.
Fantastic move, and these young guys really do love jumping off the front, like you say, Julian. The track basis that a lot of them have give them that acceleration. Back in the main field here, it's very much status quo. There's a wee bit of a organised chase here at the front going on, but nothing serious at this stage coming through Tuatapere.
So interesting to note here as we head out of the outskirts of Tuatapere, that leading group of 7 has now split themselves up as we try to make out the colours. Looking at who's missing there, I would say they've got the Japanese rider, Shunsuke Imamura, and the local man, Tom Sexton, have disappeared off the front of these riders here. This is an unusual tactic so far out to only have the 2 riders move out in front of these guys.
Yeah, they certainly don't let distance stand in their way, these riders. They've just climbed into every single aspect of every part of this stage, and did so yesterday when they had that big time split early on. But these riders here, the 2 in front, the Japanese boy that we've been discussing, and Tommy Sexton from the Macaulay Ford Good Tech team, his handlers will be looking back in the van at this and going, hey, this is great. Tom Sexton's obviously got a pedigree. He's never won a road stage in the SBS Bank Tour of Southland, and he'll be really, really hunting and trying to make amends for missing that break yesterday.
It was very interesting to note these 2 riders here with the body language, the face, the cadence that is going on in comparison to the other 5. I wondered, Doug, if they had taken note of the fact they felt that the group they were in were starting to fatigue, and maybe we need to make our move now, and if they want to come with us, they can, but they've certainly opened up a decent gap very quickly.
Yeah, very bold move. And of course, it is always going to depend on what sort of weather conditions that they encounter as they head further towards the famous Black Mount climb, which you can see in the distance. That is incredibly rough chip road. It is hard going, and the wind can funnel through there and pick up and become absolutely tough going. So 2 versus 5 versus the bunch, this is always going to be the way this stage plays out. We talked about it at the start, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens here.
It's certainly been a stage over over the years that has turned this tour inside out. We've had gaps of 5 to 6 minutes, typically going into Blackmount, and then sucked back into the fold in the closing stages here as we look to what is the chasing group on the road. They look like they've found a little bit more energy now. Of course, they can see those guys in this long straights, but it's a bit of a tailwind here today. These guys are moving very, very quickly. This is going to be a quick stage.
Incredible, really. And you can say what you like. Technology, we're looking at it all here, wheels, bicycles. There is no doubt that these riders and the calibre of these riders, the racing level, they are not coming here for experience. These riders are experienced international bike racers. A lot of them are in international teams, and they are really here to race. It's incredible.
A much more relaxed style, if you can call it that, there back in the peloton, as things just pretty steady. The Central Benchmakers World Bike team at the front, as you would expect when they've got the man in the orange jersey. I wonder, Doug, if they've made decisions here at this point in time. We don't need to switch the turbo engines on. We're going to wait for the climb and wait down that other side where we see typically the race will start to really unfold.
Always blows to pieces up Blackmount, and that's always the springboard for a lot of these riders. I've been interested to see the Creation Science Montague New Zealand Cycling Project's approach as we come up to the Blackmount here, where you can see here on the profile, and here we are. The two leaders are attacking this climb, but a chase group from behind doesn't appear to be very organised or very worried about it.
I'm also intrigued to see how these two have decided to roll out things here today. Sexton being fairly prominent in a number of sprints throughout the day. Of course, he's climbing up the order. He was leading in the Harcourt Sprint Ace early on in the tour. Will he allow the Japanese rider to pick up the points? Now, we've mentioned classifications. This is the number one classification, along with the Remarkables, along with Bluff Hill, which they've got in the next 2 days here. So 10 points for the winner over this here would catapult the particular winner here right up in proceedings in terms of the King of the Mountain jersey.
They don't appear really, either of these riders, to be too worried about it. Tommy Sexton there looks like he's more worried about getting a water bottle. He knows what's in front of him and how far it is to the finish from the top of this climb. It's very, very fast. And Tommy Sexton will be starting to think in the back of his mind, hey, have we got enough of a buffer, and have we got enough of a lead to carry us on down to Manapuri and along that 21 Ks to Te Anau? So lots of racing left yet. This is the remainder of that group of 5 that we saw. They are very much sedate, and they look like they may have capitulated.
Yes, they're looking very dejected indeed as they head down the other side. Well, they'll pick up to speeds of 100 kilometres an hour as they come into the closing stages.
So with 122 kilometres already achieved here, with 148 for the full stage, these guys have still got a bit of racing left. It is going to be really, really exciting to see whether that 4-minute gap can be pulled back towards the finish. My bet is it's going to stay away, and the two riders out the front will be contesting this stage finish.
James Williamson, the man that's been a national title holder on the front there for the Creation Science team, as we see the two leaders swing right along the beautiful sights towards Te Anau. Coming out of Manapuri here, there are about 20 kilometres left to go. These guys will be starting to believe they could take this stage here. They are no serious threat at all in the general classification, typically known as the GC. These men here know this could be an opportunity to go in the records boards as taking one of the stages in the SBS Bank Tour.
And I think your statement about their position on the overall lead of the race, Julian, has a bearing on the commitment and the motivation levels of the chase behind. They've got other things to chase as this tour goes on during the week, and they'll be very much conserving their energy in chasing a couple of chaps that are no threat overall. But Tommy Sexton, he'll be really looking hard. He knows these roads like the back of his hands. He spent a lot of time up here as a kid on holidays with his parents over the years, and he will be really, really looking hard at his rider here that's helped them out stay away.
Imamura continues to be the man on the front to drive it over this last 20 kilometres. He'll be getting a lot of encouragement here from the local man. And there he is, giving them the hand signals here. Let's rev it up. We could do this here. And oh, look at the face of the man in behind as he tucks himself in behind the local rider, Tom Sexton, the Olympian, to try and drive it all the way home. They know they could potentially do this. They'll be getting the time checks all the time. But we can see now, Doug, pressure going on in the peloton. They have certainly lifted the pace, as we typically see in the closing quarters of this race. race.
And it is a big peloton. They've all remained together pretty much over that Black Mount climb, and that has a bearing on the motivation and the chase. The Transport Engineering Southland Deep South team, they'll be really hoping to have a bunch kick coming into here for their team, and will be trying to drag this back, but I do believe these guys have left their chase too late.
Yes, I think they're in the danger zone here of missing the opportunity, because there is that group in the middle. We do have 3 groups on the road. We have this 2. We have the 5 that they originally got away with here, and then of course that is that chasing peloton to try and secure the win here today. And of course there's a lot of reasons why these riders want to win. Tom Sexton out there obviously for the brand of Macaulay Ford Good Tech, but also riding for Reece McDonald, who was one of the major sponsors behind this team and a supporter of cycling, president of Cycling Southland for a number of years, recently lost his life. And here the team have gone out in dedication to try and do the best they can for him and the team.
Exactly, and these 2 chaps, of course, 2 track riders of world-class experience who are probably looking at one of their biggest road victories, will be going through their minds as well too. But it's really going to come down to this last 5 or 10 Ks. The chasing group now, you can see, have picked up the pace. It looks like they're going quite a lot quicker than the front 2 out in the lead. A minute 55 gap. It's starting to blow up a wee bit in the wind as well, but I just don't know if they've got enough real estate here to catch these chaps.
However, what they might have, Doug, of course, some of them could be potential threats to the top 10 in the general classification if they get enough of a time gap. And I don't know if this bunch here have taken that into account, or they're just trying to chase that top 2. Either way, every second will count, particularly heading into the big climb tomorrow, into the Remarkables.
This race is a day at a time. You've got to take a stage at a time, but there will be riders in this field who are looking at tomorrow's Remarkable stage, the Bluff stage after that, the day after, and are conserving all the energy they can. Believe you me, there's still a lot left to come out in this year's SBS Bank Tour, and each stage we see it unfold just that wee bit more. You can see here again the Creation Signs Mitaku New Zealand Cycling Project at the front, trying just to contain things, control things a wee bit more, but these guys are at the lakefront now. This is the lead of the race. Tommy Sexton will be licking his lips here and hoping that his Japanese compatriot doesn't have the kind of form and legs that won him the scratch race world title at the track championships this year.
And let's not forget, he's also been 3rd in the Omnium at the World Champs as well on the track. So both these riders, fantastic track riders. And here we go, bit of a track sprint going on as they swing left and right. And of course they're coming up, of course, the speed hump as well in the closing metres here on the lakefront into Te Anau.
Yeah, Tommy Sexton will be really looking hard and hoping that this chap in front doesn't lead out and jump him. And Tommy Sexton obviously is trying to think the same. He's going to try and jump this rider and take him by surprise. But you would think that this is a 200-metre track sprint at the velodrome, the way these riders are riding. I hope they're not going to muck around and get caught from behind, because we've seen that before too.
Yes, I think they've been very fortunate. They've got the opportunity to do a little bit of this, because as you're right, Doug, the bunches from behind, we saw it yesterday as 2 riders thought they headed into Lumsden here as they line themselves up into the closing metres. Still waiting, the Japanese rider keeping an eye on Sexton. He has one little look behind to make sure that no one else could challenge here as they line themselves up into a fantastic finish on a beautiful day here in Te Anau for 148 kilometres. And here we go, Sexton, he puts on the turbo boost. He makes a kick for it. Over the speed hump he goes, and he's opened him up 6 metres there on the chaser from Japan. But it looks like the local man is going to take victory. He's going to have time to put the hands in the air, do the Stags move, and show that he's a true Southlander there to take out victory over the 148k here, the Distinction Hotel stage. Now we see for the time gaps, this will be all important as Sam Ritchie brings in the remaining group here, which includes the sprint ace, Bailey O'Donnell. It's been a big day for him on the road here. He'll continue to hold on to that jersey after a number of points being picked up as the rest of the peloton make their way into the finish, and the calculators come out to determine what the general classification will look like after day 3 here on the tour.
And here's Bailey O'Donnell, the Home Solutions rider. Has he done enough to take over this year's orange jersey in the SBS Bank Tour of Southland?
And keeping with the trend of the last few days, we have another new leader in the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. The Cantabrian Bailey O'Donnell has 18 seconds over Sam Ritchie and Sam Jenner, who was the previous leader in the tour. Bailey concludes a fantastic day's racing, holding on to the Harcourt Sprint Ace with 40 points. while Josh Burnett secured a few early points in the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains to have a 4-point advantage over his teammate Ben Oliver. Declan Trezise continues to hold on to the under-23 pink jersey, courtesy of Henderson Construction Limited. While local man Luke McPherson stayed safe in the main peloton today to hold on to the Geraldine Cheese Company silver jersey. And Imamura was the man that was awarded the Macleay Jewelers Most Combative after a big day off the front. Power Nets extends their lead in the Wednesday Cycles team classification over Advanced Personnel Cycling and Creation Signs Mitre Q.
I told Chris, our team manager and owner, I said, I'm not coming here with any goals or ambitions. I'm coming here to have fun and just race my bike. And going pretty good at the moment, so.
Follow the action from this historic race with live race updates, full results and pictures at tourofsouthland.com.